I never thought a family wedding would leave me questioning everything. But when I sat down at my sister's wedding, in the hallway, I realized just how much I had been invisible to them all my life. And the worst part, it wasn't a mistake. I'm Alex, 28 years old, and if you'd asked me a month ago, I would have told you my family was, well, just mildly dysfunctional. The usual stuff, passive-aggressive comments at Thanksgiving, my mom always playing favorites with my younger sister Emily, and my dad being completely clueless about it all. Annoying? Sure. But unbearable? Not really. That is until Emily's wedding changed everything. Emily is 25, and if you think she was treated like royalty, you'd be underestimating it. This is the girl who at 16 threw a full-blown tantrum because my parents got me a used car, and she wanted a brand new one when she turned 16. Guess who got the shiny new car? Yep, Emily. She's always been the golden child. The princess who can do no wrong, even when she's really, really wrong. Me? I'm the older sibling, the one who had to set a good example, which basically meant doing everything right and still getting no recognition. If I got a B on a test, my mom would shake her head and say, "Alex, you're capable of more." Meanwhile, Emily could barely pass and still get balloons and cake. I knew from the start that Emily's wedding wasn't going to make me the star. After all, it was her day, and I was fine with just being a supportive sibling, staying out of drama, and making it through without causing a scene. But nothing prepared me for how far they'd go to make sure I knew exactly where I stood in this family. It started with the wedding party. I wasn't in it. Fine. Not everyone includes their siblings as bridesmaids or groomsmen. But then I found out who was in the wedding party. Emily's childhood best friend, her coworker, and even her fiancé's cousin's girlfriend. It stung a little, but okay. Maybe she just wanted to mix things up. Then came the seating chart. Now I didn't expect to sit at the head table. Obviously, that's reserved for the couple and their wedding party. But I thought at least I'd be seated with family. The people I've shared every holiday with. No, when I arrived at the venue and picked up my place card, something felt off. My name wasn't with my parents, my aunts, or my cousins. In fact, it wasn't on the seating chart at all. I asked the wedding planner about it. She gave me a tight, uncomfortable smile and said, "Oh, Alex, you're right here." She pointed. I looked, and there it was, my seat, outside the ballroom, in the hallway, near the coat rack. At first I thought it was a mistake, maybe they ran out of chairs. But no, that was my seat, a lonely little table by the entrance, with the faint smell of mothballs from the coats. I looked back at the wedding planner, still grinning, but my brain refused to process what was happening. "You're kidding, right?" She only shook her head and said, "I'm really sorry, but this is where you've been assigned." Assigned, like I was some kind of prisoner being sent to a holding cell. I was too stunned to be angry yet. I needed answers, and I knew exactly who to ask. I found Emily in the bridal suite, glowing like she was the center of the universe, surrounded by her friends, and our mom, who was busy fawning over her dress. When she saw me, she gave me the fakest smile I've ever seen. "Oh hey, you made it," she said, like everything was normal. I held up my place card, feeling the weight of the situation settling in. "Yeah, quick question. Why is my seat not in the reception hall?" She blinked, then giggled. "Oh, we had to move a few things around last minute." A laugh, a giggle, the disrespect. I stared at her. "So you just happened to move me to the hallway." She shrugged like it was no big deal. "We had to prioritize close family at the main tables." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "I am close family," I said, feeling the cold anger slowly creeping up my spine. That's when my mom, who had been pretending not to listen, chimed in with a sugary sweet voice. "Now Alex, don't make a scene. It's Emily's special day." "I'm not making a scene. I'm literally sitting with the coats." But that wasn't the worst of it. Not by a long shot. Emily, without missing a beat, dropped the line that would make this the worst wedding I'd ever attended. "You kind of aren't really immediate family anymore." My heart skipped a beat. "Excuse me?" I could barely comprehend what she was saying. She shrugged again, like she was bored of this conversation. "You moved out years ago. You don't come around that often. You're not married. It's just different now." In that moment, something inside me shifted. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was something colder, something heavier. I wasn't immediate family because I dared to live my life, because I wasn't married. Before I could respond, a voice interrupted me. It was Emily's mother-in-law, who I had barely interacted with that day. But the second she walked up, I knew exactly what kind of person she was. The type who thrived on drama. "Oh, you're Alex," she said, glancing at me, her eyes gleaming with mischief. I was wondering who that seat belonged to. I forced a tight smile. "Yep, that's me. The sibling who apparently doesn't count." She chuckled and gave me a once-over, her face full of mocking sympathy. "Well, you know how weddings are. Only the most important people get the best spots. It clicked. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't bad planning. This was intention. Emily and her new mother-in-law were in on this together, and suddenly the plan became clear. They wanted to remind me that I wasn't part of the family anymore, and they wanted me to feel every bit of it. But they doubted one thing. I grew up with Emily. I knew her secret, and right now, I had an audience. I turned to Emily's mother-in-law, plastering on my best fake sympathetic smile. You know, it's funny, I started casually, keeping my voice light. Just the other day, Emily was so stressed about the seating arrangements. She kept saying she didn't want certain people sitting too close to the head table. The room went quiet. The mother-in-law's smirk faded, and Emily stiffened. I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice like I was about to reveal a juicy secret. She was so worried about her wedding photos getting ruined by, oh, what was it? I turned to Emily, tilting my head. Oh, right. Someone's tacky dress. The silence that followed was thick. Everyone was listening now. Emily's face drained of color. She opened her mouth to speak but stopped. I wasn't done. And remember the speeches? She was really stressed about that too. She said, if she gives a speech, I swear to God, I'll lose my mind. She's so embarrassing. She'll probably try to make the whole thing about herself. Emily's face went pale. She made a strangled noise, reaching for my arm. Can I talk to you for a second? I pulled away, pretending to be confused. I thought we were having a family conversation. Since I'm not immediate family, I figured I'd at least try to get involved somehow. Emily's eyes narrowed as she turned to me. Is that true? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I leaned in slightly, making sure everyone heard me. And don't forget about the bachelorette party. I smacked my forehead dramatically. Feigning silly me. How could I forget? You know, the one where Emily spent half the night complaining about her mother-in-law. She said she couldn't wait to stop faking nice. She only tolerated her because she didn't want to start her marriage off with drama. The room went silent. Emily's mouth fell open, her face flushed with fury. That was it. The kill shot. Emily's mouth moved but no sound came out. My mom, who had been awkwardly standing to the side, now looked horrified. Even my dad, who had been completely clueless up until now, actually stepped back like he wanted to disappear. And then Emily's mother-in-law, who had been watching from the sidelines, turned to her. You ungrateful little brat, she shrieked, her voice cutting through the air like a knife. I bit my lip, trying to hold back a smile. Oh, this was about to get good. You think you can just use me? And her voice was sharp, her fury fiercing. After everything I've done for you, the money I put into this wedding, the favors I pulled, she gestured wildly, thaggered the ballroom, her manicured nails flashing under the chandeliers. And this whole time, you've been running your mouth behind my back. Emily stammered, her voice cracked. I didn't. Her mother-in-law whipped around, turning to my parents. You about this? You raised her to be this kind of snake. My mother looked like she was about to faint. Of course not. Emily would never. Don't even try, I interrupted, shaking my head. You absolutely knew. You just didn't care. I let out a fake sigh. I mean, you did raise her to think she's the most important person in the world. Makes sense she'd start treating everyone else like garbage. Huh? My mom's face twisted with anger. Alex, stop it. Why? I asked, crossing my arms. Because I'm causing a scene? I raised an eyebrow. Funny how that only matters when I'm the one speaking up. Didn't seem to be a problem when Emily literally shoved me out of the reception. By now people were definitely staring. The whispers had grown louder, and guests were turning their heads, murmuring amongst themselves. Even the groom, who had been MIA until now, finally wandered over, his brows furrowed. What's going on? He asked, looking between Emily and me. And that's when Emily's sister-in-law rounded on him. What's going on? Your wife is a backstabbing little brat who's been insulting my family the whole time, she screamed, her voice full of venom. The groom blinked, his face a mixture of confusion and shock. What? Her finger jabbed in Emily's direction. She's been running her mouth about me for months, complaining about my dress, my speech, my presence, saying she's only tolerating me until she doesn't have to anymore. The groom turned to Emily slowly, his expression hardening. Did you actually say that? Emily shook her head furiously. No, I mean, well, not like that. Oh, not like that? Her mother-in-law scoffed. Here I was thinking you actually cared about this family. And just like that, it was a full-blown war. The drama was escalating fast. My mom was frantically trying to calm everyone down, but it was clear she wasn't getting anywhere. My dad, looking miserable, seemed like he wanted to disappear into the floor. I just stood there, watching the chaos unfold, sipping my champagne like I was at a Broadway play. And let me tell you, it was beautiful. But I wasn't done yet. I let out a dramatic sigh, shaking my head. Well, this has been lovely. Really, just a fantastic experience. But I think it's time for me to go. Emily threw up her hands in exasperation. Fine. Go. I grinned. Oh, don't worry. I will. I turned towards the gift table, scanning the pile of expensive-looking presents stacked near the front. And there it was, my gift. The one I'd spent weeks picking out. The one that had taken actual effort, thought, and more importantly, money. I glanced over at Emily. Her eyes went wide. Alex, no. I strolled over to the gift table, humming to myself, like nothing was wrong. My eyes landed on the gift I'd carefully chosen for Emily. With a smile, I plucked it from the table, the weight of it solid in my hands. Emily's jaw dropped. Are you seriously taking it back? She asked, her voice full of disbelief. I gave her a deadpan look. Why would I leave? I pretended to gasp, clutching my chest dramatically. Oh no, what if I contaminated it with my servant germs? Her face turned an alarming shade of red. You're such a child, she snapped, her voice shaking with fury. I shrugged, clutching the box under my arm. Maybe, but at least I'm not a fake, lying two-faced brat who pretends to be sweet while talking bad about people behind their backs. I turned to Emily's mother-in-law, who was still glaring at me with that smug look on her face. Hey Mel, good luck with this one. I give it a year. I turned on my heel and started heading toward the exit. The tension behind me so thick you could cut it with a knife. The whispers grew louder, and the music came to an abrupt stop. It felt like the entire atmosphere had shifted, from celebratory to pure unfiltered chaos. Honestly, I loved it. As I reached the door, I paused, looking back at the disaster I'd just left behind. Emily was still arguing with her new mother-in-law. My parents looked like they wanted to vanish into the floor, and the groom was standing there, shell-shocked. I gave a little wave, a smug smile pulling at my lips. Enjoy your perfect wedding, sis. Then I walked out. I didn't look back. The moment the doors shut behind me, I took a slow breath, savoring the weight of my wedding gift under my arm. Petty? Maybe. But satisfying? Absolutely. I drove home in silence, the night settling around me. My mind replayed every detail. My sister shrieking, my mom's panicked expression, my dad's silence, Mel's absolute rage. It was all golden, but I knew that wasn't the end. Oh no, the fallout was just beginning. The next morning, my phone exploded. Calls, texts, and missed voicemails flooded in from every direction. It was like my entire family had suddenly remembered I existed. My mom had left me 7 voicemails, her voice flipping between desperate pleading and pure fury. Alex, what were you thinking? You humiliated your sister on the biggest day of her life. Call me back now. Alex, honey, please, we can talk about this. Just come over. Let's work this out. That was the most immature, selfish thing I have ever seen. I hope you're happy. I hope you enjoyed destroying your sister's wedding. I grinned as I scrolled through them, sipping my coffee. If Emily thought a few angry texts were going to make me feel bad, she didn't know me at all. But it was the message from Emily that really got my attention. It's over between us. How could you do this? You ruined Viri. I can't even look at my wedding photos because of you. You took back your gift. Are you serious? What kind of person does that? I hate you. I really, really hate you. I couldn't help but laugh as I read her message. Then there was the text from my dad. Unlike my mother and sister, he wasn't lashing out or demanding an apology. His text was short and simple. Call me when you have a moment. I hesitated. My dad wasn't the type to get involved in family drama. He usually let my mom and Emily take the lead, staying in the background. The fact that he was reaching out at all meant something serious had happened. He picked up after the second ring. Hey Dad. There was a long pause on the other end. Then he sighed. Why would you do this? He asked, his voice low. I snorted. Wasn't my fault. They lit the fuse. He sighed again. For a moment, thought he might scold me. But then he did something I didn't expect. He chuckled. It was low and almost tired. Yeah, they kind of did that, he said, catching me off guard. Wait, you agree with me? I didn't say that, he replied, his tone quieter. But I saw what happened. I saw how your mother and sister treated you. It wasn't right. I am back in my chair, surprised by his words. So, what? You're the only one not blaming me? Another pause. Then he said something that made my heart shift slightly. Not the one. Turns out, the wedding didn't just go back to normal after I left. The damage I'd caused was irreversible. Emily's new mother-in-law had completely lost it after I exposed her. She chewed Emily out in front of everyone, demanding to know if what I said was true. Emily, being Emily, had panicked. She tried to lie to play innocent, but apparently Mel had already suspected something was off. My little revelation had been the final straw. By the time the reception ended, Mel had all but disowned Emily. The groom was absolutely furious. Apparently he had thought that Emily and his mom had a great relationship, and finding out the truth in front of everyone was a punch to the gut for him. According to my dad, he and Emily had a huge fight that night, like a maybe we should rethink this whole marriage kind of fight. My parents? They were caught right in the middle. My mom tried to patch things up, but Mel wasn't having it. She told my mom point blank that she didn't want Emily anywhere near her family anymore. Complete and total fallout. So what's the situation now? I asked my dad. Genuinely curious. He sighed. Well, Emily, she's not handling it well. I rolled my eyes. Shock. She's blaming you for everything, he continued. She thinks if you hadn't said anything, none of this would have happened. I couldn't stop myself from laughing. Yeah, of course. God forbid she actually take responsibility for her own actions. Dad was quiet for a moment. Then in a lower voice he said, she wants you to apologize. I choked on my coffee. Apologize? Yeah. She thinks it's the only way to fix things. She thinks if you just take the blame, maybe Mel will forgive her, and things can go back to normal. I laughed again, louder this time. That's not happening. Yeah, I figured. Dad with a slight chuckle. And honestly, I don't think you should anyway. His words caught me off guard. Wait, seriously? Yeah, he replied, his voice softer. I saw what happened. And honestly, maybe it's about time someone called her out. That meant more to me than I wanted to admit. So what now? I asked, looking for answers. Well, your mom is still trying to patch things up with Mel, but I don't think it's going to work. Mel's furious. The groom, he's barely speaking to Emily. And as for Emily, he hesitated. Well, she's a mess. Good. I didn't say it out loud, but I wouldn't lie to myself about how I felt. My sister had spent years making me feel like an afterthought. Like I didn't matter. She treated me like I wasn't good enough. Like I didn't belong. And now she was facing the consequences of her own actions. It was about time. Dad sighed again. I just thought you should know what's going on. Your mom will probably try to call you again though. She can try. I'm not answering. Dad let out a short laugh. Can't say I blame you. It's been a few weeks since the wedding. Honestly, I haven't spoken to Emily since. She still refuses to take responsibility for what happened, and still blames me for everything. And now she expects me to fix it all. But I won't. I don't regret what I did. If anything, I'm proud of it. As the marriage, let's just say I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't last. So what do you guys think? Was I too petty? Should I have just played along? Or did my sister get exactly what she deserved? Let me know. I could use a good laugh.